Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Sutalo,
And I'm Casey McBride.
And I'm Jameson Eads.
and we're here with another fun episode of Stir Crazy Shamans. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and also thank you. We are only 2 away from the mythical 100 subscribers, and then we can start doing fun things out in nature, live streaming from our mobile devices. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button so we can have a lot more fun with you guys.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It'll be so magical. Stir Crazy Shamans from the forest. Shamans doing shaman shenanigans.
Yeah,
awesome.
foraging episodes, all kinds of fun stuff. So we have a lot planned once we can go out into nature and hit that go live button. But today is all about inspirations, and this kind of came about when I was getting up. Or is it yesterday? Now I forget. I think it was yesterday when I was making breakfast. I was messaging Casey all these things, and I had like an inspiration for a book and all these things, and I got a very clear knowing from Spirit that all these different projects that I had these inspirations for that I didn't move on right away, that their prime had passed, and that to not worry about those right now, but to write about today's inspiration. And so that's what today was all about, like seize the inspirations of the day, because otherwise they kind of fleet like dreams, or they lose their potency because now the energy of the moment has shifted to something else, and you're creating for 2 months ago or for 2 years ago or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to go ahead. I'll let Casey talk now. Put him on thing because I have to do something on tech.
So. No, I've got to do that too. So Jameson, why don't you talk? wait, hold on, Hank, real quick to clarify. Where did you share this to? Oh, I can see it up here. So do I need to share it to my profile?
You need to share it to your profile.
From Shaman's Way.
From Shaman's Way.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you guys are just joining us for the first time, we're streaming to a whole bunch of different places, but there are 2 places that we are for sure to see your comments. One is the YouTube channel. There should be a link in the description. You can click there, make your comments on YouTube. While you're there, click subscribe. The other place is Stir Crazy Shamans. Everything else is kind of like a shared post or being streamed in a different way. And if you are making comments like on Casey's profile or Shaman's Way, we're not going to see them. You got to go to either the page or YouTube in order to guarantee that we can interact with you.
Okay, I'm all done, so I'm good. I can say but yes. No, and I've found that so many times that, there were things that seemed so potent that came through from Spirit in the moment. And you, for whatever reason, you think, okay, I don't have time right now, so I'll get to it tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes the next day. But then you want to go back to it because it did come through from Spirit, and you want to honor that powerful energy that came through. But it may just be that the energies have shifted, and you need to, at least for now, let that go. It may come back around. But the other thing is, when you do receive these signs, inspirations from Spirit, it is important to act on them. Because one, that sends the signal out to Spirit that this is important, instead of ignoring it and saying, it's for another day. That sends the message that, okay, well, this beautiful energy and inspiration from Spirit, not important enough for me to deal with right now. So the universe will go, okay, well, we're not going to give you much more of that then. But if instead something comes through and you act on it right away, you put it into creation, take action, or whatever it needs to be done, then the universe goes, okay, well, obviously that was important to him, so here's more and more and more and more of that beautiful inspiration. And I know, like for the reading business that I did, I received one reading where I was really in the flow of like the energy of doing a lot of readings, and then someone gave me an astrology chart reading, and it was the first one I'd had. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but they hit on so many points that were just spot on. And I was asking about this idea that I had for doing spirit guide mediumship as a business venture. And they were like, okay, well, the way that everything's lined up, like right now, today is the day you should start that, like now. Okay. Well, I don't know exactly. But I said that, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then Spirit was like, yeah, just go online, do a live stream. And the logical mind was like, I've never done that before. I don't know how I would do that. How would I? But then I realized, nope, you know what? This inspiration's coming through on multiple levels. Just do it. And so I just went on and did it, and it's been magical. So yeah, act on those inspirations.
Right. And Stir Crazy Shamans is all from that type of same inspirational thing. It was like a joke almost in passing, but it was an inspiration. Hey, we should start a podcast called Stir Crazy Shamans and just talk about stuff to bring lightness to people's day. And it started with just me, and then it was just from the first one, it was like, yeah, this is like a Hank and Casey thing, not just a Hank thing. And then it became what it is now. And if we were like, well, we'll start that, but we'll wait a month. We'll start that, but we'll wait, whatever. The energy for this was now. And if we had waited at all, it wouldn't have been the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
That happens with a lot of things. Like, a lot of people find that they're like, oh, I don't have time to do something. And like, a lot of times when you have an inspiration, you have to realize that you can make time for them and go and create those things. There's always time in the day. You just got to learn how to manage it right so you can do what you want to do what you love. Casey was the first person to inspire me to get into herbs and foraging, and I always wanted to get into it. And then him and I like connected on this, and it was like, okay, now do it. And I haven't looked back. I've got a journal now of hundreds of herbs I've just been learning about and writing down things and collecting plants. And, oh, it's amazing. You got to make time for the things that are inspired to do.
Absolutely. The other thing is that same inspiration that you just got, Spirit might be inspiring a dozen people, 100 people, 1,000 people. If you look at Thomas Edison, when he came through with the light bulb to the patent office, there were like 2 people on his heels also patenting the same thing. That same inspiration was out in the ethers. It's like, okay, it's going out to all these people because God talks to everyone, Source talks to everyone. It's not a question of who it talks to. It's a question of who is listening. And then from the people who are listening, who's actually taking the actions to actualize and manifest whatever that inspiration is in the physical world. So that's why it's like, seize them in the moment that you get them and run with it.
And you see that in examples of cultures across the whole entire world that have never been in contact, but draw the same kind of pictures, come up with the same ideas all over the world. You just look through history and it's there. You can see it.
Yeah, that is I didn't even think about that. That's a great point. And that's also something to say with the that's a whole separate thing. Maharishi effect. We'll table what I was about to go to because we could go down a whole different rabbit hole. But there's something to be said too, that when a certain number of people get an inspiration and start to actualize it, that information can jump across the whole species, which is a really interesting phenomenon as well. It's inspirational and then it's transformational and goes across the whole consciousness species of consciousness of the species. There, I need more tea. It's still early for me.
Hey, that's pretty cool stuff, though. I'll have to look into it.
But no, as far as like making time for these things, it's an interesting topic I've been really fascinated with lately. Time is not this solid, like from left to right thing that a lot of people think it is, and those of us who are a little more aware realize that. But I had never actually played with trying to consciously manipulate time before until Hank and I were talking about. He was telling a little story about this technique for manipulating time, and I remember I think I may have already shared this story here, but I feel like it's relevant right now and it's fun. So there's this technique where you kind of like feel the flow of time through your hands, and then you can kind of like expand it or contract it if you want time to sort of like move slower or faster in your bubble. And Hank and I were getting ready to go on an adventure out to different nature spots to connect with like the sacred sites and find these stones. And he was working with his kids to finish their homework. And I was like ready to go. I'm like, I'd finished all my stuff for the day, and I was like, all right, whenever you're ready, let me know. And he was like, yeah, my kids they got 2 more problems, math problems, and the first one took them like 15 minutes. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be at least like half an hour then. So I told Hank, I was like, Hank, why don't you just spend time right now? And he made a joke. He's like, oh, I can't do that. They'll be like graduated before I blink my eyes. And then, but then he's like, you know what? So he texts me and he goes, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then I kid you not, in my time, it was a minute later. He messages me back and he goes, okay, so they're done and we just have one more video thing and then I'm ready to go. And I was like, what? That was like 60 seconds that went by. But I guess in Hank's reality, like the time had expanded and it actually took However,
Yeah, it took long because it wasn't just like a math problem. He had to like make a math word problem, and he can't pick anything. Like if you make suggestions, he's like, no, no. So he has to come up with, Daddy played Mario Kart for 2 hours, Max played for 10, and Oliver played for 3. Who played the most, and then how much did they play together? Like that was the example, like the first one, and he had to do like 3 of those, and he just was indecisive about what to pick, and that's what takes so long. But but yeah, as soon as I had time, it was just we were just done, and I'm messaging him back, and then I look at the thing, and it's like a 1 minute difference from the last conversation or something. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So suspend your disbelief. And the thing is, whenever I do that technique, I don't have any point of view about it working or not working. It's just play. I just play with it. And that's how I did it the first time and found out, wow, this is really super easy. Like you just bend time in on itself, done, and just remember to unbend it. Otherwise, you'll be confused for a while. Why are things happening so fast, or or so slowly? Like the days are dragging on because it will eventually undo itself, I believe. But if you forget, then it just creates a little confusion until you realize it.
Yeah, and my first experience with that was it was right before I was getting on to do, I don't know, some live stream or something on here. Oh, it was one of the shamanic meditations, and I walked past this closet where I keep a bunch of like food, and it's like a pantry / closet thing, and it was just so unorganized, just crap that I bought that was like on sale, like extra stuff over like 2 years that was just piled up and in disarray. And I was like, that's like a 2-hour project to get that organized. And I walked past her and I'm like, but I'm feeling like I have the energy to do this now. And it's like, I don't know when I'm going to be motivated to do it again, but I don't have time before this meditation. And I was like, oh, what about the bending time thing? Well, let's try it. So I said, all right, this 2 hours worth of work, I'm going to bend time so it happens in 15 minutes. And I did that, and I start working, and I'm sitting there, and I wasn't really paying attention, and I'm like getting close to done, and I'm like, oh crap, I haven't looked at the time. I might have missed the meditation. And then I look, and it's been like 15 minutes, like right when I'm finishing up.
So if you're watching this, all you need to do this is you put your hands out and you just allow the flow of time to go over your hands, and just and if you don't feel it, pretend that you do. Ask yourself, well, what would it feel like if I could feel that? And even if you don't feel it, you just hold your hands out, and when you're ready to bend time, you just turn time in on itself, and it creates a bubble around you, and it's just your intention that makes it go faster or slower. I've used it in the past. But before some of the shamanic training, I would always be bent out of shape if I wasn't at least 15 minutes early for things. But my wife is okay with being 15 minutes late for things, so we kind of balance each other out. And then, but I would use time bending whenever we were running behind to like speed it up to get there faster. But you just start playing with it, and that could be a great way if you don't feel like you have time for your inspirations. What if you bent time for 15 minutes a day and worked on your inspirations and see how much you could get done?
So great.
And this is the kind of I love that word. I like the word magic lately, but it is. This is like real magic. You start to play with this stuff and energy and spirit and all of that, and all this stuff that sounds like very like, to some people it would sound out there or like, how is that possible? I don't understand when the logical mind comes in, but no, just like Hank says, suspend your disbeliefs, play with it, and watch as all this magic just starts to come true.
Speaking of magic, Mike gave us a whole bunch of unicorns. Thank you, Mike, for joining the stream here this morning. And if anybody has questions or any contributions that you'd like to offer, you can definitely make your comments. We'd love to interact with you and take the conversation wherever you'd like to go. And if you're just joining us, today's topic is all about seizing the inspiration of the moment, seizing it, and doing what you can do to actualize it in your reality, whatever that inspiration might be.
So, Jameson, go ahead.
Have you ever been inspired to do something that you really don't want to do?
Ooh, have I? Well, there's, I would say yes.
Yeah, no, I always think like things that like I know I need to get done, and like I feel the energy to go do those things, and if like I don't do it then, it takes forever to do. But if I like do it right then, whether I like it or not, suddenly it doesn't seem like such a big deal, and it's so much easier to do. Like just like sometimes you don't want to clean something, but you know it needs to get done, and you when you come into your room and you're like, oh man, this is such a pigsty, and that inspiration hits you, you jump on it then, and it's like, oh, it's done. Like that took me like 2 minutes. What the heck?
Right. Well, when I run into the cleaning type of things, I was going somewhere else with the question. I always ask the question, like, what would make this lighter while I'm doing it? And like yesterday, when I was like cleaning up the kitchen, I was busting out one of my favorite artists, Krishna Das, and having chanting and stuff going on. And then I was sending some Casey's recorded messages, and he's like, "What is that you're listening to? That's awesome." So like, even if it is something that isn't something you're looking to enjoy, like, what could you put on in the background or do while you're, or what could you be while you're doing the things you don't want to do that would add more possibility and ease in your life, would be a great question to ask for stuff like that. But where I went with it was more, I had an inspiration from spirit, but it went against or not in line with where my ego wanted to go. And then I have a conflict because the ego's like, I don't want that. I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. I'm afraid of that. But you know that that's where to go. But there's some sort of resistance because false evidence appearing real, fear, or whatever the case is, that makes it feel like you want to go in a different direction. But in truth, that is the inspiration is the lightest thing, and to get over whatever the blocks are and things that are holding you back. And now we got unicorns and dragons for Magic Mike. Thank you, Mike.
That's funny because I was literally just reading a book that's talking about unicorns, and like I always I love how like the word unicorn comes from like the old like rhinoceros. Like unicorn literally comes from the word rhinoceros, I think in Roman. And
I'll trust you on that one.
Right, and don't quote me. I've been just reading a lot, so I get confused in what I've been reading and what I think I know. But it's just funny because the book just talked about unicorns, and I've always wondered, like, hey, like, where are they? Like, I don't know, all these animals that people have inspired for, like dragons and stuff. Like, man, could you imagine a freaking dragon? That shit would be scary.
I've met a ton of them. Yeah, when I do readings and shamanic journeys, I've met dragons many times. Yeah, no, people have dragons following them as spirit guides. So yeah, they exist. I don't know if they ever existed in the physical, but they definitely have existed for a long time in the realms of spirit.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to things being in existence, anything that could be, will be, is now in this ever-present moment. It's just not in your immediate awareness. So they definitely existed physically somewhere, maybe just not in this particular stream of consciousness, but somewhere. So if you want to get roasted by a dragon, you can come back in another lifetime and pick one of those realities.
Oops, wrong place.
But then also, like, all these inspirations for movies where we have all these realms of fantasy and magic, like, is it so really fantasy, or are they just aware of another time, dimension, space, stream of consciousness, whatever you'd like to call it, and they're getting those inspirations from other places and then putting them in the form of movie series so that we can still enjoy them even though they're not part of our immediate experience?
Oh, I've wondered that so much. Like, I've literally been reading book after book after book, and I was like, I'll be either listening to or reading a book, and I'm like, where did that inspiration come from that it makes it so clear to them that they can project it into your mind, and you're like, oh, this is totally possible. This is a beautiful reality that this person has created with so much detail. It's like, it has to exist somewhere because it's impossible to have that like crucial details in your inspiration without it being real.
Or that them making the work make it real somewhere else. And though it's a book here, it has just become a reality dreamed into being somewhere else in this infinite playground of experience. So, or Casey would say both happened. It was both the inspiration.
Right.
both
Chicken and the egg.
Right. Yeah. The answer is both and none.
Right.
They both came first. They both didn't come first, because everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be.
Precisely. Oh yes, no, but then that brings up an interesting point too. You say do we have this idea of is that real, or is that did someone make up that reality, right? And so how do you determine what reality is more real than another? Is there such thing as an unreal reality? That's sort of an oxymoron there, whether or not it exists on the same vibration and density that the things on the physical are, or it's on a different frequency that you can tune into with a different state of consciousness. I don't think anything we experience is more real than anything else. It's all real and it's all illusion at the same time.
Right.
It's exactly. Sorry. And it's exactly the same thing in like when you do lucid dreaming. Like you're creating the reality and also living the reality in your dreams. Like I literally just had a amazing lucid dream just the other night. I was telling Casey a little bit about it, but he inspired me because like I kept telling him, oh, whenever I lucid dream, I have a hard time flying. I don't know what's holding me back from doing that. And he's like, oh, whenever I do it, I just fucking fly. Pardon my English. I just fly. And
with that explicit hashtag now. That's all right.
Dang it. Sorry. And as soon as I got into the dream world, I was like, I'm dreaming. I can fly, and I just took off. And I was like, I literally just flew right out the window, and I was like flying through these ravines and these mountains, and I was like literally like anything I wanted to do, I had happen like within those times. Like I wanted to see my wife, and it was just like, boop, there she was. I'm like, this is so awesome. I just grabbed her and took off, and there was nothing holding me back. It was funny because at those times, as soon as I started to think about like, oh, in my other dreams I couldn't fly, I started losing my focus. And it was like I would slowly, and I'm like, wait, but you could do this, and then off I was again.
I love it.
It was so awesome, Casey. So great.
Yeah, no, but for me, whenever I would come, like, say if I'm doing like telekinesis or trying to fly or something in a lucid dream, and I would come across that. Because there are laws of physics and the spiritual realms and the dream realms, all of that. So like there's gravity and all that stuff exists just like it does here on Earth. But I think because the vibrations are different, we can bend those rules more easily. So yeah, but one thing that always worked is if I was trying to like force myself to like levitate or something, I was like almost putting more resistance to it. And the harder I tried, the harder it became. So when if I'm trying to like levitate, fly, or use telekinesis or whatever it was always just sort of really coming into a super relaxed space and just allowing the experience to happen. Just like, okay, let go. And like you set the intention that you're going to fly, and then just let go and relax and perceive, and then you just sort of, and then you just take off.
And I think we can wind that right back around to inspiration. Like why you have to seize that inspiration at the moment. Like you know how sometimes you get an idea and you're like, oh, I can't do this right now, and because then later on you try to do it and you're focusing so hard on it that you're not just letting it happen. That if you seize that inspiration at that moment, it's always so much easier to do.
Right. And that gave the example. I have that whole acronym for COVID that I had come up with that Spirit told me, sit down, we're going to give you this acronym. When I sat down, I wrote down COVID, and I'm like trying to think of what words this could be. And then they're like, no, idiot, just sit there and we'll give it to you. I'm like, oh. It's like, so I just sat and became quiet. I don't remember. Did I show you that, Jameson? Have you been on since I came up with that?
I don't. I think you mentioned it, but I don't think I actually saw it or heard.
I'll throw it up on the screen real quick. This is what I got. So COVID is an acronym for Create Opportunities via Intuiting Divinity.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was one of my little inspirations, and now that inspiration is continuing on with a few things around that, and that will be announced very soon. I'm working on some things on that too. So, but it was all about getting out of the way of trying to do something and just allowing it. And Zane, one of our shamanic teachers, gives the example that when you move your arm and you do that, you're not sitting there going move, 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 move.
Exactly.
You just move your arm, and it relates more with intention, like a bow and arrow. You set the intention, you pull back the bow, release it, and you let it do its thing. You're not sitting there going go arrow, go arrow, go arrow. Well, maybe you are, but that's just for fun. Then that doesn't really help the arrow go at all. But it's like you set the intention, you let it go, you have your perception, then you make a new choice. You set a new intention, and you keep the process going.
I'm gonna have to get my bow out now.
Oh, I'm gonna have to come over for that.
Oh, dude, I love archery. It's funny because like when I first started doing archery, I never thought I couldn't do it, and I ended up being so darn good at it. I won a 1,000-man tournament when I was like 17 years old, and I was just like it was just like second nature. And I'd only been shooting for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks when I went to this tournament.
Oh, that's awesome.
So this is great inspiration for everyone to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, because once we can go live, we're going to go to Jamieson's house. We're going to have Casey stand with an apple on his head, and we're going to have Jameson shoot it. And it's going to be it will either be the greatest episode or the last episode.
Well, either way, it'll be
probably
great.
be better off with throwing knives than at archery. Like, I'm good at archery, but I'm way better at throwing knives.
I would never want to put Casey in harm's way. So.
Hey, we'll put you on a wheel, Casey, and I'll swing you around and throw stuff at you.
Except when you destroyed my foot on the hike that other day.
Me? No. What were you an allowance of that day? I don't know.
But where are we going with that? Where are we going with that?
We were just having fun.
Yep.
Oh.
So if you do have a question or comments, I did post on there that if you are making comments on like my Facebook profile or some of the other ones, we don't see the comments unless it's actually on either Stir Crazy Shamans or the YouTube channel. So if you do have comments, like you saw Mike was commenting earlier, he's over on YouTube. We do see those. We would love to interact with you. So there it is. You can just do a search for Stir Crazy Shamans on Facebook or on YouTube if you're watching at any of the other places, and you can interact, offer your contributions or ask your questions. As you can tell, there's no rule on what we have to talk about. We come up with the topic and we just kind of flow and see where the conversation takes us.
So we're in the apprenticeship. One of the things we're having to do right now is to find these stones that I remember the name of them. Huchapichairumis. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So they're stones out in nature that like you can find. They're like all over the world, I'm assuming. But they're like these dark stones that suck in energy. And I haven't learned all like the various purposes for them, but it got me thinking, how many other like incredible, amazing things exist out in nature that just do all of this magical stuff that, you know, a lot of people have never tapped into and aren't aware of, but that you can. And then I just kind of made a connection when you were talking about herbs, and I'm like, herbs are one of those amazing things, right? So, you know, some person who's not tapped into that sort of thing or hasn't learned about it might just be walking along and, okay, there's all these green looking plants, you know, but then someone who is aware, has learned, walks along and sees like, oh, like, okay, that green thing sticking out of the ground right there, that can help with your asthma and digestion and headaches and this and that. And or like, you know, the energetic and magical properties of the plants, like this can be used for that kind of ceremony and this. And oh, I don't know, that's just such a cool little magical realization. And but now I want to like go out and learn and find, like, you know, I'm willing to bet, well, I know every single thing out in nature has incredible magical properties that are just have been or are waiting to be discovered, and that got me really excited having that thought.
That makes me wonder how many of these stones I've picked up, because like whenever I'm on a hike, I always end up coming home with a pocket full of rocks, and they're just like, I'm not even joking, I'll be walking around, I'm like, ooh, that's cute, oh, that's pretty, oh, I like that, and like then I end up with like a pocket full of rocks, and I've got like 100 like rocks in a jar here that I just picked up over the years.
Well, if you wanted to kind of dissect that a little bit, you would look at your jar, maybe put them out, and just to see which ones shine to you the most. Like, who wants me to connect with me first, like, and see which ones shine brightest. And then you sitting with your stone in the left hand, and basically allow it to tell you its story. And then you put it in your right hand, and you tell it your story. And it's like the way you start to begin your energetic relationship with the stone. And then you ask it, like, what medicine do you have? And in the shaman program, we collect one stone for each of the elements, and it will end up being in a little mesa bundle, which I'll grab in a second just to show it. But once a month, you open that up, you offer each one of those stones in there a little Kintu offering, and you sit with them and you know, have a little conversation. And sometimes you are the teacher to the stone, and sometimes the stone is the teacher to you, because it's all a reflection of one another. But that would be a great little thing. You got 100 rocks. I mean, what if that's 100 new healing techniques that you might have there that they're waiting to teach you?
And that I just never realized. I'm just collecting them.
Yeah, they were screaming out. They're like, pick me up. Or sometimes a stone wants you to pick it up because it knows you're going to gift it to the person that it's meant to go to.
I definitely believe that.
It goes twofold. I'm going to grab the mesa real quick just for fun.
Oh, and if I could bring my camera off there without worrying about things. I have mine set up over here. It's not folded up yet, but I have it. I made my Kintu offering to it. It's sitting underneath it. So
That's great.
Yeah, and in the tradition, they say that this represents the perfected you. If you were going into a healing session and you were all angry and pissed off or whatever, this doesn't get angry or pissed off. And so, like, this is like every stone that you end up charging up in the program becomes like an anchor point for a particular energy. And even when you're not at your best, the stone is, and you can rely on that as a tool then to bring you back into the space when you're not having your best of days.
When you guys said Kintu offering,
Kintu, yes.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a spiritual offering from you, or is it something you're actually offering? Like I'm just not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's three. You pick 3 leaves, and traditionally in Peru it would be coca leaf. Up here you could use bay leaf, or if you're out in a nature spot, pick 3 leaves from the place you're working with because they already know all the nature spirits of the area. You would take. We use 3 leaves because it's representative of the lower, middle, and upper world. So the Uhu Pacha, the Kai Pacha, the Hanak Pacha, and then there's a process where you are putting it at the different energy centers, empowering it, introducing yourself to the leaves, and then you would offer that to the nature spot. Or if you're doing it for the purpose of the mesa, you're doing that and offering that little offering to each one of your stones that you have in your bundle.
Okay, awesome.
And then a little bit more elaborate, you could get to adding a flower petal, kernel of corn, a little wine, some other things, and that's for a little bit more of an elaborate thing, but all fun stuff. Love it.
Oh, and I watched that movie Pachamama. I recommend that to anyone who wants to watch.
Oh yeah, it's a free movie on Netflix.
Magical movie. It'd be you can watch that one with. Well, I don't know how. If I don't know about kids. Are you watching movies with your young one yet, or is that too early?
I don't think our kid even understands what is going on.
Okay, yeah, she's real young. She's a little baby.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Sometimes I forget how much time has gone by since.
I know, brother.
It's okay. There's a little bit of animated violence and a random death, but I mean, other than that, it's great.
She won't have a problem. I watch horror films like nonstop, and she's like, "What's this?" Okay, Winky.
No, but Pachamama was cool. It was, but a big part of like the beginning and towards the end of the movie is like making offerings to Pachamama. And one of the things that happened, it's not really giving anything away, but
no spoilers,
right? they and it's like I don't know if it was probably inspired by like the Caros, I would imagine, right? So with all the language and everything, and
there's some things like I've never known a village to have like a magical cave and stuff like that, but for the most part, there's it's just pretty. And the story about the Spanish coming in is definitely resonant of what happened in history.
But anyway, so they have this big pit where they make and after the harvest, they offer like a ton of like what they harvested to Pachamama. And like some guy comes in and like it's like taking like the taxes or whatever, and he's like, you guys had plenty of food, you just threw it all away. Like we didn't throw away, we gave it to Pachamama to give thanks for her for all that she gave us, and when we give thanks to her, like she gives all that back to us, like many fold. That I was like, wow, that was such a cool way of like kind of just explaining that in the visual the movie format that they did. And so
it'd be good to get Zane's take on it too, because he's more familiar with the history than any of us, and it varies so much by village to village even that might be one thing that a village does, but more traditionally you would do a despacho and just put everything in a cloth and then either bury it, burn it, or some other things.
Although I mean it could just be that a despacho doesn't look as cool in an animated movie as like a giant
we need a little pack. We need a big
and like there's I don't know if it's the Mayans or the Aztecs that they would toss gold and all kinds of offerings to their gods in those giant like water pits that are like around South America, where they would get their water, and they have all this gold and silver. And when the conquistadors came in, they're like, "Hey, where's your gold and silver?" Like, we don't keep it, we offer it. And so like I wonder how much at the bottom of these pits is just like gold and silver buried by thousands of years because they've been offering it to their gods. I just thought that was interesting, the whole like offering their food. Like I wonder how many cultures do that across the whole entire world.
And when it comes to offering, the energy behind it too is if you have in the movie, like you're supposed to give whatever you consider the most sacred thing, and of course some people are hesitant. They don't want to give up their sacred thing. He's like he has this feather or whatever, and it's real hard to come by or whatever, and he doesn't want to give it as the offering. So if you're in that space, that's a space of scarcity. There's not enough, right? So like, but if you are in the space of abundance, then all those things you can offer because you know it's coming back. But energetically, it just is kind of a testament energetically of where you're functioning in the world.
I love watching your cat in the background, Casey.
Oh, is she in here? I didn't even know you were in here, Pete.
Well, she's been really quiet compared to normal. Normally, when she wants in or out, she's letting it be done.
Cats are awesome. I love them so
Magic
much.
Man's just tuning in that he's sure about that. I think he was agreeing with us with that, and that there's great truth in movies. We could have a whole episode just talking about movies like The Matrix or other things that have like these spiritual threads in it. Or my old favorite classic, Fraggle Rock, that was something in back in the day when I was growing up. That was just amazing. Now there's a new one. They have Fraggle Rock. All the puppeteers are separated, so they all film their own thing with their iPhones and they edit it together. They have these little mini Fraggle Rock episodes that just came out. It's pretty awesome.
Hilarious. It's hilarious.
Very cool.
Yeah, movies, like, there's so much beautiful inspiration in movies. Like, that's something we can literally have like an hour or two conversation about. Like, have you ever seen a movie and had a spiritual experience from that movie?
Oh yeah,
multiple fold. Yeah,
definitely.
Like sometimes like the inspiration side, or sometimes it brings up like a heaviness that I can deal with. It's like, whoa, I don't know what that is, but let's deal with it now. Maybe I did that in a past life or something.
Well, you know what, Jameson, we both love the show Vikings, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of like very spiritual themes in Vikings. There's a lot of like violence and murder and things, but there's also like a lot of like their Viking spirituality that's brought into that. And I remember there were like a few times I was watching that, and there were certain things that were coming up in my field that I was kind of dealing with, and just watching it, it was like, have the people that were making this episode been like spying in on what's happening in my life? And like just the messages that came through, I was like, oh my. And I'm sure like anyone else watching that episode, there was like absolutely no real spiritual message for them. But for me, like the way it came through, I was like, wow, it's just so powerful. And but I mean, that's happened with a lot of things. But but I mean, and really, I think and that's the thing, the universe is always communicating with us in some way or another. And, people tend to think of messages from spirit coming from like, outside, or like a certain bird flies past or something. But this is all spirit, everything. And so even, movies, TV shows, that's spirit. And if you're open to listening, messages can come through in all different directions.
Yeah. In fact, you can set the tone for that just by asking a question before the movie starts. What state could I be of allowance could I be in to receive the greatest possibilities from the movie I'm about to watch, and like really go into it with the intention of being aware and open to seeing what magic it might have for you.
Spiritual movie watching. This sounds great.
we could have movie nights at the center probably, as long as we don't charge for it, because you can't charge for that kind of stuff when it's
right.
But we can have we can't have a snack table yet. Silly pandemic. No. But yeah, that was interrupting my snacking. That's cool, man.
BYOS.
Bring your own snacks. There we go. Bring your own snacks. And we'll put the chairs 6 feet apart, and we can have a movie night.
Oh.
So what's been your greatest inspiration lately?
Ooh, what's my great? I guess for me, just all of the connections I've been making with all these new amazing spiritual people. I've had so many powerful experiences on my own throughout the years, and things that were just, like mind-blowing experiences of energy and spirit. But having people like Hank and the other people I've been connecting with to really share these experiences with, and I don't know how to put it. It's not so much about the validation as it is just like having the sense of community around these experiences. And it's inspired me to go so much deeper with so many things and to really be active with them. It's like the connection with humans has inspired me to go deeper into spirit, and that's also inspired me to go deeper into my connection with humans. So that's been a really cool thing for me. But the sense of like spiritual community has been really important to me lately.
That's fantastic, man. How about you, Hank?
Yeah, it's hard to pick one.
Right?
They're all. Well, it's just been like I probably like yesterday while I was making breakfast, I probably sent Casey like 5 or 6 inspirations. Like one of the fun ones one of the fun ones yesterday that I'll share was just like, all of life could be like that moment that you are surprised at a surprise party where you're not judging it, you're just surprised in the moment, you're having your experience of it, and it's after that now, oh my gosh, I'm not dressed right, if I only knew I would have done my hair, I didn't shave today, oh no, I forgot my deodorant, and your mind gets into it and starts judging you for being you based on the experience you're having. But if you can stay in that moment of like all of life could be like that and just be that constant state of surprise and possibility and fun. It doesn't have to be the trauma and drama, but our brain loves the trauma and drama because it knows we survived it. It doesn't know about fun.
Yeah, I've been going crazy because I want a garden. Like, all I've been dreaming about lately is I want to get a garden going and I want to do it. And like, what stinks is we're planning to move, and I'm gonna start a garden, and then it's going to be like, here you go. You could just have my garden since I can't use it. But I can't wait to move and start my own farming and growing flowers again. God, I miss flowers, man.
Well, one fun thing you could do, I mean, it's up to you, but when you birth something like a garden or anything, you're birthing an energetic entity into the world. So like a art project, a garden, your house all has what we would call like a Pachamamita, spirit of the land or the spirit of the thing. Like even a business, holistic health and healing, you'll notice when Zane opens up his opening ceremonies in the apprenticeship, he'll actually call holistic health and healing. It's the host of the event. And so you're calling in the energy of that. So when you make your garden, you're making an entity. Why can't you take your entity with you?
That makes so much sense. Like the last big garden project I worked on, it was a couple years ago, but around our house, we always had these giant patches of moss and like tons and tons of rocks. Like when I'm tilling up the earth, rocks are just popping up, and I'd use those rocks to make designs. And then I would like collect moss in buckets and use the moss in my designs. And I had so much fun with it. You can like literally every piece of greenery can be used to create that perfect form that makes you happy. And I could see what you mean by creating like an energy right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's what all magic is. When you're doing like a hoodoo bag or little spell or whatever, you're creating a consciousness, a little job entity, we would call them, an access that's going to go and advocate for your choice. And as such, with a garden, you create a consciousness to bring you that food source. And when you're ready to go, you can ask it, do you want to stay here? Do you want to go with me? Well, we'll create the greatest possibility in the world. And if it does want to stay there, then know that it's the greater possibilities with it being there, and you don't have to feel bad about leaving it.
Right.
And if it does want to go with you, then all you got is some dirt. I got the garden.
So, you know what I really miss, Casey?
Foraging. Foraging?
No, foraging. Like metal.
Oh, foraging. Yeah. I know. I don't think I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He built his own forge.
Yeah, a couple years ago, I was just like, I want to do this. I know how to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I like literally just took every stone I could find, got a bag of like fireproof cement, and built a forge. And I found, and like it was funny because around that time I was building my forge, one of my friends was like, "Hey, I got a friend that's got an anvil. Would you like that?" I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? I'm like, that's the most expensive part of the whole thing. Like, I can't just make an anvil. I can make a forge, but I can't just make an anvil. And yeah, wow. So now I've got my anvil and stuff. But that was at my old home, and we're currently living with my wife's family to save up money and stuff. And I'm not going to destroy their backyard and make a forge when they're planning to sell their land.
Oh, why not?
Oh, I will. I will again. And what's great is now that I've had that experience of building my own forge, like I've got way better ideas and better designs to do it on the next run. And I can't.
That is a great example, though. When you followed that inspiration, look how things lined up for you. Like, here's an anvil, Yeah. And, my friend Brian goes out to Hawaii with virtually nothing, and someone gifts him a car. After my first Reiki class that I ever took, a friend of mine who was going to go into massage therapy and changed his mind just gifted me his table. He's like, "Yeah, I bought this. I'm not going to need it. You can have it." And like, I just was gifted the table. So like, look at the magical things that happen if you seize that inspiration and really start to do your part, how the universe just brings you everything that you need to actualize it with ease.
I was gifted my massage table as well when I finally when for massage for me was me committing to the path of the healer, was taking that first step and going to massage therapy school. And as soon as like I had decided, it was my uncle was like, yeah, I bought this massage table like a while back. We never used it, so you can just have it. And that was like the most expensive thing other than like the tuition that I had, like that I would actually have to buy. And here you go. I was like, oh, that's amazing. So yeah, no, definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but and I might. Oh, I want to have. He might be watching this even. I want to have my cousin on at one point because he has so many awesome stories of his trip. He's rode his bicycle from Colorado to Alaska. He walked the Camino. He's kayaked the Mississippi River from source to sea, and he has all these stories of just coming across things where he's like, oh man, I really need this, or we just lost whatever, and then like it just appears, or someone's like, hey, we got an extra one of these, you need it, and like anything he's ever really like needed on the trip, like the universe just like provides for him almost instantaneously.
Sounds like a cool Magical Moments episode. And send, named cousin, if you're watching, let us know. We can send you a link. You could join right now. You don't have to be here or anything like that. But if you're here, make yourself known. You can hop on with us.
He's I invited him before, but he said he's not quite ready to share all this yet. So we'll see.
Well, what if we let him come up? He doesn't have to have his camera on. He could just have an icon. It could be just the voice of God.
And it could be anonymous. We could even have a voice modulator, right?
Yeah, well, it's really necessary. But yeah, like we could definitely do that. Like if we like hear, oh no, I'm gone. It's just me talking as Hank Settler.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
So he could come out and like not be on. It's not a requirement that he put himself out there, and then we'll call him the alleged cousin because we don't know if it's Casey's cousin or someone else's.
Right. He's allegedly a cousin of someone somewhere in the universe.
It reminds me, like, do you have family members that are not family, but you know they are? Like, I have a soul uncle, and like I know, like, he's not blood related, but he is like completely an uncle of mine. Like, sorry, it reminded me of that. Like when we're like, oh, like unknown uncle, cousin, or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, my grandpa I'm not blood related to him, nor was he ever actually married to my grandma. They lived together. But I always refer to him as my grandpa because he's definitely my grandpa. Yeah. So I don't know if that's similar to what you were talking about. But
oh no, it's totally.
Well, I had a dear friend who was like a second father to me, and there's people in my life now that are like family. And sometimes, if you think about lifetimes, how many lifetimes have you been with one particular stream of consciousness? You might have been with one of your friends like 50 times and with your wife once, because whatever the situation is, and then you start judging yourself because you're closer with someone else than someone from your own family. That's not the case at all. It's just a unique experience. It's not any better or any worse. But to give you an example, take two people who the woman's experience is, oh my gosh, she's a stalker, and the guy's experience is, I'm infatuated with her, and their streams are crossing like this. So for him, this is my millionth lifetime with you, 100th lifetime. For her, it's the first one, and their streams are going like that. So the perception of the experience could even be out of time and space, and that explains a lot, like why some people might be really connected with someone one way but not the other way. Just food for thought.
No, it's interesting stuff. Like, because for example, my wife, she's like much younger than me, and had I not been in the space where I was when we met, like it could have been a really awkward experience years and years ago. But like as soon as we met, it was like, oh, we are meant to be together, and we both had that connection. Like, and I know I've been with her in past lives. It just, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense that we weren't, because literally the moment I laid eyes on her, I was like, that's the woman I'm going to be with, and I have been with, and we're going to create a family. What the hell?
No, we are. I don't know. I have a experience recalling past lives and like connecting with how I've known certain people. I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to do it a lot when I would meet someone and we just connect really quick, and it's like, wow, we've definitely known each other for way longer than however long we have. And so like there were certain times when I would sit down and a lot of people that I know and really connect with in this life. There's one particular life that a lot of us knew each other from, and it was at a like Zen temple, like a Zen Buddhist temple. And I think we knew each other from that life.
I'm
James.
pretty sure, yeah. My mind went right there.
Yeah. And so like there are certain people where I would sit down and I'd remember and I'd go, oh, I remember you from this life, and this is who you were, and this is who I was, and I'd explain. And then one time I met with someone who we just started connecting with, and she goes, oh, we knew each other at the Zen temple. And I was like, oh, you're the first person that ever remembered that first. But it was such a like powerfully validating experience for me. Like someone else recalled that before I did. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, no, we do. We some of us like came in to this planet to enter the incarnation grid as like a group. There was a whole group of beings that would come through and go, all right, time to take a ride through this thing. And then other times it could be the case that as we're here on this planet, we connect with certain beings and then move on to the next life. Our energies are like sort of intermingled. So we connect in that life again and again. And the connection just becomes more and more powerful through each incarnation.
And it's funny, like after I've moved around the country, like right after high school, and you realize how much smaller the world really is when you leave like I was born and raised in Ohio. I wanted to move to Pennsylvania, and then things didn't work out, and I moved all the way to the other side of the country in Colorado. Like 2 months into living in Colorado, I'm out on a date with a girl, and I know nobody there. I have been called Jameson for years when I was in school. And like elementary and high school and middle school, all my friends called me Jamie, and I haven't heard Jamie in like 2-3 years by this time. Take this girl out to dinner, and we walk into the store. I'm standing there waiting for the waiter to take us to our table, and suddenly from behind me is like, Jamie frickin' Eads. I'm like, what? And like, there's my friend that I grew up with in elementary school, middle school, and high school, and he joined the military, and I hadn't seen him in years, and he's sitting right there, same city as me, 1,700 miles away. And I've had that experience almost everywhere I go. Like, the last 2 jobs I've been at, I go to the job site. This other crews are there. I went to school with 2 of them. I was friends with 3 of them. The cleaning guy comes in. He was my friend from high school. The carpenter comes in. I'm like, he lives in Pennsylvania. Him and I were friends in middle school. It's like, how does this keep happening?
Because we live magical lives.
Yeah, seriously. But I love when that stuff happens. My wife thinks it's creepy because everywhere we go, I run into people I know.
That happens to me too, but I don't think unfortunately it doesn't creep her out.
I wouldn't say it creeps her out, but she's not surprised anymore.
No, this might have been fun. I told Casey this already. I'll share it now. I was at Trader Joe's, and I was waiting in line to get in, and this guy's walking by. He's like, yeah, stir crazy! And then he just kept walking, and I'm just like, did he recognize the show or something? He didn't say the full name of the thing, but he could also just been saying he was stir crazy from being, at home or whatever. But it was kind of
That's awesome.
No, I think that just means that we've made it. We're YouTube famous now.
Yeah, woo! We're YouTube famous. Woo. Yeah. Jay, for those of you who don't know, I co-authored a book called Spirit Talks, and I never really pushed it much because they edited me, and it was like channeling. So I was like, well, I wasn't that motivated. But I was at Lilydale, and I was at like the little coffee shop, and someone came up to me with a copy of the book and asked for my autograph. And I was like, what? But that's like the only place and the only bookstore ever to carry the book was in Lilydale. And I happened to be there, and someone had just bought the book and then noticed me because my picture was in there, and they came up, and that was like my celebrity moment for being in it.
Oh, I love it.
How does it get any better than that? Actually, I know how it gets better than that. If you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button in the description. But I also am posting Casey's YouTube link. So he
Yes.
has his thing, Shaman's Way. So take a moment and do that. We are only 2 away from getting 100 and being able to go out into nature and go live from a mobile device. And then the whole game changes because we can do all kinds of fun shenanigans out at the beach or the woods or whatever we're doing, do ceremonies out there, foraging expeditions. Like, what are the endless possibilities of being able to go live from your phone on YouTube? And it can all happen after 2 more people hit subscribe.
That sounds like such a blast. And Casey knows, like, whenever we go out hiking, he's like, yeah, I'm looking for these mushrooms. Like, oh, there's some.
Jameson has got the eye for it. There'd be mushrooms that, like, I just introduced him to what it looked like, like 5 minutes ago. And I'm sitting there looking and looking and looking. Jameson's like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. And I'm like, man, how do you do that? But no, yeah. So if you ever want to go foraging, Jameson is the guy to bring with you on that.
I'm totally down. It sounds like so much fun.
And if we don't have Jameson with us, then we'll just ask the question: what energy, space, consciousness, and choice could our body, beings, and beyond be to instantly find everything Jameson would find if we were here?
Yeah. I cannot wait to get out in nature. I've been, like, speaking of stir crazy shamans, I've been stir crazy as hell to get outside. And the weather keeps, like, it was like, oh, I want to go outside today. I walk outside and it's raining. And I hate getting wet. I'm like, come on, man. I just want to go out.
Oh, I like it. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I find there's a lot of people, and, it's totally fine. Nothing wrong with it. But there are a lot of people that, like, different forms of weather put them off to being outside. And that's I've never really fully understood that. Because, like, for me, if it's snowing out, wow, how beautiful. If it's raining out, wow, how beautiful. If it's sunny out, wow, how beautiful. If it's cloudy out, wow, how beautiful. So I've been hiking everywhere from Alaska to, like, the middle of the desert and everything in between in all different seasons. And I don't know, it's just always beautiful. So maybe, Jameson, you can ask the question of what energy, space, choice, and consciousness could I be to be an allowance of whatever weather is there in order to fully enjoy that, no matter what the experience is.
Yeah, I think the experience that put me off of rain was when I was younger. My parents would send me to this nature camp in Wisconsin, and, like, it was like a 3 to 6 week thing, and every week we'd go on a real big expedition. Well, when I got older, they took us on this 2-week expedition that was to hike around the Lake Superior. And, like, halfway through this trip, we're heading to our campsite, and it starts downpouring, like, where you can't see, like, 10 feet in front of you. The rain is so thick, and we're in the woods. And we're, like, maybe a mile away from our campsite, and a lightning bolt takes a tree out right in front of us. And, like, I nearly, like, crapped my pants. When you see lightning take a tree out in front of you, it really changes your perceptions on things. You're like, oh, that was scary. Man, we never set up camp so fast in my life, in the rain, just pouring it. And, man, I think that might be one of those reasons I'm not a big fan of the rain. Like, I love the rain. I love watching it. I don't like being, like, getting wet, like, unless I'm planning on it. It's hard to explain.
Well, what would it take to shift that energy from a space of heaviness to a space of possibility? And if you want to shift that, I'm certain that we could maybe work with that and shift it. And I have a rain story as well. My wife hates getting rained on, just like Jameson. And we were out at this Bear Lake in Parma. I think it's down by Parma. There's a place called Bear Lake. You can rent these little paddle boats, and we're out there, and she's, like, looking at the weather, and she sees, there's a break coming up. We can go out for an hour, like, at this point in time. And we're, like, paddling out there, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool if it rained right now. And, like, we're in the middle of the thing, and there's nothing anybody can do, and it just starts pouring. And, like, we just get totally drenched. And we had a blast, and it was so much fun. But hopefully, if we get caught in the rain, maybe the company will help shift your perception and experience of it.
I probably would. Hey, Casey's gotten me out in rainy days, and I wasn't a little, like, angry puss the whole time. So yeah, I just want the nice weather. I want some clear, sunny, warm days where there's not a lot of mud, so I can just hike my butt off.
Speaking of like people having weird perceptions of the weather, or interesting, I should say, that's a better word. Interesting perceptions of the weather. We have a pool in our condo complex, and I kid you not, there have been times where it's a nice warm day, and people are swimming in a pool of water. And it starts to gently rain, and they get out, grab all their stuff, and run inside. You're in the water.
No, that's anchoring from when you were a kid at the city pool. Like as soon as it starts raining, they clear the pool out because they're afraid of a lightning strike.
Right.
So we're conditioned to jump out and run away.
But that's my
so
favorite. Swimming in the rain. Ever since I was a kid, it's been my favorite time. There's something about you bring your head down to like this level of the water
and just
you
watching
see
the drops.
The drops. Oh, it's
so awesome.
So magical. I hope they open up the pool this year, man. I've been hearing rumors that they might not open up any of the pools.
I think it's based on each pool's choice, I do believe. So we'll see what happens because it all falls under the health department. I don't know where we're waiting on the word from Westlake if they're going to do that or not.
I think they said the 20-something pools are going to open up. I want for some reason the 27th is like ringing in my head. I'm always listening to the news on the radio, so I hear all this crap.
Well, see what happens.
Well, they can't close the lake, right? Or can they? I don't know. Maybe they can.
I think they can just tell you that they prefer you not be in the water if a lifeguard's not on duty, but I don't think it's illegal to go in.
No, there's usually just disclosures, swim at your own risk type of thing. But then again, 2 months ago, we would have never said that they could close a country, but they did.
True.
Pot and pock, all that. Cool.
Oh man, I can't wait to get out in nature, guys. Now you got me like I'm
1 hour
salivating.
from now. 1 hour from now, it could be you. We're going.
Yep. An hour. Let's do it. Pod and pock anything that doesn't allow that. Anything that doesn't allow for this to happen. Pod and pocket.
I promised my wife I would work on a couple projects around the house. We need to move the baby's crib over into another part of the room, so I got to move a bunch of stuff. Because no joke, the baby will be asleep, and it's her crib's right next to the bed, and suddenly you just see her behind these bars going, ah! And I'm not even joking, just yells straight in our ear.
That sounds fun. She's pookly-eyeing you.
Oh yeah, she's always playing. So funny.
Yeah, well, if you're watching today, have an inspiration, go out into nature and enjoy this amazing, beautiful day. We're about to. Well, Jameson's going to be stuck inside with doom and gloom, but the rest of us are going to go out and enjoy the nature experience. Find some Huche Piche Rumis, our healing stones that are. If you do go to a river today, look for 2 black stones that are heavier than they should be from the appearance, and they are natural Huche Piche Rumis, these little stones that have the ability to bring out and suck out heaviness from your body. And so if you ever had heaviness, you can just rub it on wherever you feel the heaviness, and then you just kind of drop them on the earth a couple times to shake the Huche, the heaviness under the earth. And right now you have your homework to go out and pick up your first healing tool if you don't have any. So go find a river, find 2 stones, and maybe we'll talk about what to do with them a little bit more at a future episode.
Oh, and for those who are more energy sensitive, because I know we have the energy sensitive people that watch this, and you can also look for the stones will be sucking in energy. You'll be able to perceive that, or at least that's what Zane told me.
Yeah, they have the ability, like a little vacuum cleaner, just suck things out. You can do a lot of other fun things with them, but that is the way to recognize them. And then you'll have to just watch every episode because you never know when the inspiration will hit for us to talk about what to do with them.
Right. Such good times. Such good times.
Oh, it is fun. Any final thoughts? We're at an hour already. Now it's going to be your job to edit this video, Casey.
Oh, yeah, because we're past Instagram TV time.
We are. We have to edit it down.
Yeah, and you got to take out my F-bomb.
I don't know if they care about that. And I think it only matters if you have a lot, right? I don't know if it matters.
I'm really not sure.
No, but it was my favorite thing. The first time Casey dropped an F-bomb, I think that's when Stir Crazy Shaman shifted. Because I was like, we were thinking about it, he drops the F-bomb, and it was like, This all helped with that episode. It was awesome. And we started really being the show instead of doing the show. It was
Right.
lightened it up
And
a
so
little.
after that, I thanked the spirit of the word.
Yeah, don't take life too seriously, even the F-bombs.
True that. Such a good time, guys. Like, I really appreciate spending this time with you guys and sharing your energy. It's such a blast.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. We love having you on, and yeah, you know, that's the thing is, I guess my little wrapping up thought, because today was so much fun. You know, get out there and connect. You know, I know a lot of people are still afraid to get out because of all the COVID stuff, but look at all this beautiful technology we have to connect with each other. You know, and there are people out there who, if you're interested in like the spiritual stuff, the magic stuff, all of that, we're out here, you know, find us and we'd love to connect. So yeah, I don't know, just have fun, connect with your brothers and sisters and whatever inspires you. Just connect and have some fun and play.
Cool. Do you want to go first, Jamie, or me?
No, Jameson, please.
I just had to throw. I messed with you. That's all.
No, I really, I don't know why, but I keep like want to find that. I want to look through my stones because I keep having an image of one, so I have to go look for it at some point. But no, other than that, I really don't have any thoughts for the day.
Yeah, and for me, it's just like really be in that ever-present moment of now, whatever the inspiration is. Just once you get the inspiration, just ask, what energy could I be? What actions could I take? What beings of light could I engage with to help actualize this with ease and create possibility in my life and for the world? That would be like the question to leave you with for any inspiration that you get, how you could take that from just an inspiration into some crazy, incredible manifestation and actualization in your life.
Don't be afraid of the inspiration.
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard not to be, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, you are a potent, infinite being. You can do it. Yeah, in fact, like that's one of the things we started with. Like, you can do this, or like someone said it. I forget if it was Jameson or Casey was giving an example that you got it, and hey, it was your Forge example. Maybe I could do that. Like, you know that you have the resources, or that the people with the resources are going to come across your path to help actualize it. Once you start doing your part and putting that inspiration out into the world with whatever you can do in this. At this moment, an anvil comes to you, a massage table comes to you. Like, how magical is the universe that once you start to walk the walk, things show up for you.
The spirits start talking the talk.
Yeah, the spirits start. You walk the walk, the spirits talk the talk, and you can.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But thank you, everybody. And if you haven't subscribed, please, we only were 2 away. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. The link for the YouTube channel is in the description above. And in the comments, I posted a link for Shaman's Way, which is Casey's channel. Subscribe there as well, because we do broadcast on that sometimes, especially the Aini readings, the free Aini. Look at me.
Free Aini. What are you doing?
The Aini spirit guide readings. It was great fun. If you go back and look, I did readings online with Casey, and we were getting very similar messages. And even like one of my spirit people like took one of the guys. It was just a really fun time.
Yeah, that was a cool episode. Check that one out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for, do I have it in the background here? Was it? I was looking for the Aini readings. Well, maybe I don't have it here. Oh, I have it as a background. I don't have it as. That's all right. Oh, here. I put it in the background. You can kind of see it there. When we go off, you go look for that picture and watch that episode. It was a lot of fun. And someone's saying good morning. We all say good morning to you, and then we're leaving.
Good morning. Good morning.
Goodbye.
But the thing is, you can watch the replay if you're watching on Facebook. Start a watch party. Watch it there, and also subscribe to the YouTube channels. Help us out, because 2 more, and then we can start going live from our cell phones and stuff, and do all kinds of fun live streams from out in nature and places like that.
Subscribe so we can create even more magic. There's a little jingle now.
Well, that sounds like a really good note to end on. Just joking.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Farewell, I'll be
Say goodbye. Okay, now people are going to be dropping like crazy. Let me find the outro video.
We just lost 5 subscribers doing that. Oh no.
All right, guys, seriously, have a wonderful Sunday. Please go out in nature, take care of yourself, and follow your inspirations. See ya.
Thank you.